with Charlie Rosen on today's FastBreak.com. Phil Jackson said today's players lack the skills to run the triangle offense effectively, saying, quote, "Today's players simply lack the skills to play the triangle. They know how to play one-on-one, catch and shoot, and they've mastered crossover dribbles, spins, playing off of screens, and step-back shots. They don't know how to execute things like inside reverse pivots and other basic footwork. They have no sense of timing or organization. They don't really know how to play 5-on-5 basketball. It's strictly generational." So now we all know Jeff Hornacek plans to run a version of the triangle this upcoming season. Oh, Stephen A., your reaction?
My reaction is that Phil Jackson absolutely disgusts me. This New York Knicks squad under his regime is 49-115. I'm going to repeat that. 49-115. He disgusts me because he's not wrong, but he's disingenuous. If you just look at the quote on its face, he's talking about the players. He's not taking into account everything that comes with it. The age at which they enter play in the NBA. NBA coaches who are not necessarily teaching as much as they used to because they don't have the same level of security, so they're looking for the closest thing to finished products that they can find. College coaches, AAU coaches, everybody looking to get themselves in position where they can cash in. No player knew. I remember when Phil Jackson took over Chicago, he had to nurture and help Michael Jordan along in terms of at least psychologically adopting a mindset, conducive to what Phil, with Tex Winters, the architect of the triangle, wanted to install and implement, okay? These are the kind of things that happen. It's why coaches exist. It's why assistant coaches exist. It's why a general manager exists who hires the coaches, and you're working in concert with one another to teach the players. So it's not about them not knowing. It's about what you are teaching and what you are enforcing and what you are implementing. Phil Jackson, did it ever occur to Phil Jackson that maybe, just maybe, had you decided to coach bad hips and all, instead of having a person in Derek Fisher who never coached a day in his life come and coach the New York Knicks for the first season and a half, did it ever occur to you that they might have a better knowledge of the triangle at that particular moment in time? And then, by the way, Phil Jackson, Mr. 11 rings, no doubt. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen for 6 of them. Kobe and Shaq for the other, for 3 of them. For 3 of them.
Yeah.
And then Kobe with Pau Gasol and the crew for the other 2. So, again, we're talking about you having some of the greatest players in NBA history. But even them, you had to teach them what you wanted. And so I just think that, again, he's not factually wrong in terms of the players, but it's not like they can't play or it's their fault or they're ignorant or they lack intellect. It's that you play for coaches who implement systems that don't teach these kind of things. And I think it's incredibly disingenuous and disrespectful for the players to just throw a quote out there like that without, without elaborating on exactly what's transpired.
Stephen A. and Knicks fans, kids, let Uncle Max do this for you. And Stephen A., I'm going to turn that frown upside down.
Okay.
This is my gift to you
luck.
going into the weekend. Molly, this is my gift. We're going to have a happy Stephen A. Smith after our first week of shows together. This is my gift to you, Stephen A. It's not that you're wrong about what you said, but that's not what's going on here. This is the good news, Knicks fans. Good news, Knicks fans. What Phil Jackson here is doing is admitting the triangle ain't going to work. Now, Popovich uses elements of the triangle, and when Phil was coaching Kobe and Pau, they went to a lot of pick and roll, right? There's no, one system that people just use religiously without consideration for their personnel and the way the game is played. The spread pick and roll and the increase in three-point shots and efficiency of three-point shots and analytics, et cetera, with the rules that exploits the rules changes in the NBA, zone, hand checking, all this stuff, has made the triangle antiquated if that's your primary basis of your offense. Now, if you're Phil Jackson, can you admit that? No, your ego is going to be far too wrapped up in it. It's too much of a sunk cost. So what you have to do to protect your own ego here, I don't think he's doing it intentionally, is saying, well, my system would work if they really stuck to it. The problem is, from a very young age, they haven't incorporated the right kind of skills in order to run it. This is his out, Stephen A., and we have to give it to him. You can't hold his feet to the fire. Oh, wait a minute, you're wrong. You said the triangle was work, and you're just wrong. We have to give him this out, because if you're a Knicks fan, the message you should be getting from this is, don't worry, it ain't going to be all about the triangle. Phil is capitulating. He's admitting it has to be something else. Let him do it. Who cares if it looks like some player on the team is kind of collateral damage in terms of reputation a little bit, or some generation of players? That's what the crusty old-timers always say. Let him move away from the triangle, exploit the resources on the team, and he has some now as well as possible, and let happy days come back to the Knicks.
You are on the record saying that his ego plays a role in it because he's not willing to admit certain things.
Yes.
That shows that that's a huge problem, because his ego is the one that got him in trouble with it to begin with. Because if you think for 1 second that Phil Jackson just learned over the last few months that people can't play the triangle.
Yes, he did.
Like it. No, he did not learn it just over the last few months. He's been known this, okay? The fact of the matter...
Wait a minute. When Stephen A. says he's been known this, that means source?
Wait a minute. Without question.
Let me read between the lines.
Question. Not only that.
Back off.
Not only that. Let's also remember something this.
Why is he kept with it if he knew it for so long?
Phil Jackson, the executive, could have had Dwayne Wade had he not signed Courtney Lee. Keep that in mind. You didn't have to give Courtney Lee $50 million. Dwayne Wade went there for 47 in Chicago.
We need quick context here, though. These comments were made in December, just published today, to clear that up.
Okay. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. There we go. There you go. So let me get this straight.
All right, so he's known it for about 8 months. That's still good news.
So he's known it for about 8 months. You know what makes it worse? That same Phil Jackson is the guy that tried to sell New York on Kurt Rambis and implore Kurt Rambis to teach the triangle in the aftermath of what he now has reportedly
Kurt Rambis is interim. He brings in Hornacek, and Hornacek is a guy who looks, I have 3 point guards. Fine, well, Eric Bledsoe.
Phil Jackson tried to keep Rambis.
Whatever, but now he's got Hornacek who's willing to use whatever's on the team. That's what he did. I mean, that's good news. You got a flexible, interesting coach. And you got a president who admits that he can't win with the triangle, essentially.
The Knicks are going to be better because Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah and Courtney Lee are going to make them better. But the reality is that they're still not going to compete for the championship.
What's it going to take to make you smile about the Knicks?
First week in the books. Thanks for joining us. Know you left a good situation. It's been fun. Stephen A., always a pleasure. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. So who is the most hated NFL player of all time, you ask? Now pay very close attention to the criteria for this list. Sporting News came out with a list of the 40 most hated players of all time. However, one major caveat: Aaron Hernandez, Ray Caruth, O.J. Simpson, and Ray Rice were left off for obvious reasons. Instead, the focus was narrowed to players who were hated while they were on the field. Michael Vick takes the top spot, followed by Terrell Owens. You can marinate on that list there for a second. So with that being said, what's the biggest issue for you guys on this list? Stephen A., do you want to start? Let Max go. Okay.
Well, first of all, you understand, given the criteria, why Vic is one. Otherwise, you'd be like, wait, where's Aaron Hernandez, right? But
yeah, of course.
So you see Vic is one. T.O. is two. What is the issue that people have with T.O.? One of the greatest receivers of all time. And then the question was, okay, but how does he handle the big moment? And this was a time, don't forget, where Brett Favre was throwing interceptions in the playoffs, and he was loved. The media was waxing poetic about how selfless he was, even as he was taking his team's chances at that point in his career. But look, he suits up he takes every snap, and he's on the field. And look at him, no matter what injuries.
No. Don't stop. Don't do that. Don't forget this about Brett Favre. Oh, look at how he jumps into the arms of his offensive lineman. Oh, look at how he hugs his guy. I mean, it's just so wonderful. I mean, he looks like a little kid out there.
He's throwing up plays in the dirt.
Remember when Cam did that last year? Yeah, a little different.
Well, I'm going to get to Cam in a second. T.O. has a bad leg. He's bad wheel. Playing on one leg. Says, I'm going to play in the Super Bowl. And some of the media focus was that he was being selfish for risking his team's chances while playing hurt just because he wanted to be on the field. What are people? And then in the Super Bowl, he is the best player on the field on either team. Yeah, I can understand why you hate that guy more than anyone who ever played other than Michael Vick. And then Cam Newton. He's a little lower down on the list, but Cam Newton appears on the list. I get it. He's famous. Part of this is just hating on famous and good players who don't play for your own team.
And hating on his dabbing. No question.
Let me just get this straight.
I don't like it. I love it, what I'm saying. I don't understand why people hate it, my point.
Let me just get this straight. All Cam Newton does is win football games and hand the ball to little kids in the stands.
Yep.
And then celebrates when he does something good. Yeah, I could really understand why you don't like Cam Newton.
Wehere's your problem. I have to stop you from talking right there because you literally dropped your mic.
Yeah.
I literally dropped the mic.
So, literally dropped your mic. Let me get to my list and then we'll come back to you.
That's the TV and sports god sending us a message.
No,
there we go.
that's just being a true pro.
No, that's all right. We're helping you out here. Here's the deal.
Drop the mic.
Are y'all ready for this?
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Sit down for this one, right?
All right.
There's 40 people on this list. You know what my biggest problem with this list is? Tim Tebow at 21. Are you ready for this? I believe he should be higher. I believe he should be higher. Now, by hate, I don't mean the person. Tim Tebow is a wonderful dude. Tim Tebow is a good guy. Tim Tebow is the guy, like they said, you know, you'd want him dating your daughter or whatever. All this other stuff that they've said about him. I'm strictly talking football. If there were a person that should be despised, it's Tim Tebow. Because as a football player, if you are an NFL guy, the fact that this guy got the shine that he got for the years that he received it is as nauseating as it gets. Think about what people have to go through to get to the NFL. Think about the sacrifices that they have to make, the trials and tribulations that they have to go through, the commitment to excellence that they have to put forth. And they get to the NFL level, and everybody knows they got stud potential. But this dude, who never could throw, and I mean never could throw. And I want to hear about the touchdown pass of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You understand what I'm saying? That my man Skip used to throw at me. I want to make me want to throw something at him. Because let me tell you something right now. A dead clock is right twice a day. Anybody can get something done right once or twice.
I can't believe you're going to do this to me.
But in the end, Tim Tebow is the guy. To me, I think the number 21 is low. I think that when you think about a football player that you may not like, and when you think about the shine that he received, how unworthy he was of it.
Don't do this to me.
That's why.
Don't do this to me.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to walk into it. I got no, you're giving me no option. Kyle Orton was a low-average quarterback at the time. They couldn't buy a win. Tim Tebow starts, and they win 7 games, make the playoffs. He's 7-3 lifetime?
7-4.
7-4.
7-4. And won a playoff game.
And won a playoff game,
right.
And never got another opportunity in the league. I'm sorry. Whatever you think of Kyle Orton now in retrospect, at the time at least, the perception was he's not an average quarterback, but he's like low average. He's not terrible. And they couldn't buy a win. And now, look, Tebow's mechanics and all those things, mechanics are a means to an end. It's significant if you can't get the job done. But if you can get in the huddle, and whether by inspiration or perspiration or your arm or your legs or luck, if you can help your team or lead your team to victory when they weren't winning right up until the point you came into you took control, and then they won almost twice as much as they lost and won a playoff game, right. And you never get another opportunity. I understand why some people think he got media attention out of proportion to his accomplishments or his abilities. But actually just doing that is what I just mentioned, what he accomplished, is much more than most ever do. How could you have him the most hated?
He had a cup of coffee in the NFL, is all we talked about.
That was a good cup of coffee, though. Got the milk and sugar just right.
Let me explain. You took me here. It's your fault.
No, you did.
It's your fault.
No,
it's your fault. It's your fault.
You actually started it.
Stop it. Let me tell you something, Molly and Max.
See what he did.
Okay? Do you realize that Tim Tebow won a football game completing 2 passes? Do you realize that? 2 passes.
He won a football game?
Yeah, he won a football game.
What's the operative word there?
Time out. I recall there being special teams on a football team. I recall there being a defense. I recall for a minimum of 3 quarters, this dude was god-awful. I recall him over the course of a season completing 46.5% of his passes. If people complete 60% of their passes, we consider it subpar. He's at 46%. He could run the football. With him, the Denver Broncos had the #1 rushing attack, okay, with the read option and all of this other stuff. But the bottom line is this: he couldn't throw. So from a talent perspective, let me talk to you. You ever heard the name Denard Robinson out of Michigan?
Yes, of course.
He had some skills. Did he ever get given the chance that Tim Tebow was given?
He was given one chance. In fact, he wasn't given enough. He's given one chance.
Let me tell you something. What I'm saying to you is this. Tebow got sabotaged in New York. The whole Rex, I'm not blaming him for the Rex Ryan situation at all. And obviously he had to leave Denver because they got Peyton Manning.
Do we have to talk about this topic on this show still?
No, I don't like it either. But here's the point. When you talk about being on the hated list, the reason why I say his name should be elevated is because he debunked the theory and the notion and the fact that you had to bust your tail and be a actual talent in order to be on the NFL level. Nothing can take away from what he could achieved in college. But as a pro, if I'm a dude out there busting my tail to get to the NFL level and I got these skills and I'm seeing this dude get all of this shine, I'm going to resent that.
Look, Stephen A., if we took a little puppy and put him on the desk right now, doesn't do anything, doesn't know anything about sports. We took a parrot or a monkey, whatever it is, and put it on the desk, and the ratings went up. Would we ask whether the mascot deserved
Hell
shine?
Yes.
No.
Hell
if the
yes.
ratings went up, we put him on.
No.
It's results-based. If you start a guy, and look, you said, well, there were special teams on the field. There was defense on the field.
Yeah, but ratings didn't help a football team win.
The point, no. The point is, they were on the field with Kyle Orton, too. But they couldn't win until they were inspired, or Tebow's legs, or maybe he even got a little lucky or otherwise.
I'm almost allergic.
When Mark Bulger took over for Kurt Warner, that was due to injury, don't forget.
Right.
Was Mark Bulger as good as Kurt Warner? No. But they went 8-0 to start that season, and Kurt Warner never started for the Rams again.
But Mark Bulger actually Mark Bulger actually played quarterback, and he actually could throw the football. He wasn't a running back playing the quarterback position.
Stephen A.,
number one,
I'm not claiming he can throw the football.
That's right.
I'm saying he won with them, and he never got another shot.
I'm saying to you, we're talking about why I believe he should have been elevated on the hate list, because it's a level of resentment that you have for somebody that can't play a position but is receiving all the shine for it. And last point is this: speak for yourself. You can speak for her, you can speak for yourself. I don't give a damn what the ratings are. Ain't no monkey or parrot or anybody else gonna be on this show, and I'm gonna sit here every day. I'll be damned. Yes. So that would be my position. I would not accept that.
Let's talk to the producers. I just want to get a little puppy, put him right here,
and watch what I do,
and see what happens. If the ratings go up, you show up the next day.
I might take it home. I might take it home with me, but they ain't gonna sit up here with me for the show. Promise you that.
Even if it's correlation,
that's all I'm trying to say.
I know correlation does not equal causality. I get that. And essentially the argument about Tim Tebow is, now there was a correlation with him winning, going 7-4, making the playoffs for a team that couldn't win without him, and winning a playoff game, but it's not causal, and all the talent evaluators in the NFL saw the same thing, and he never got another shot. My point is, if anything, he was denied opportunity in the sense that, show me another player who takes over for a losing team, goes 7-4, wins a playoff game, who never gets another shot.
Tim Tebow is you know what, he personifies what a lot of people believe is a problem with America. That guy being celebrated for his marginal talent having self.
See, I wanted to sit here and talk about how Cam is getting hated on.
I know, we didn't get to the rest of the list.
And you turned it. Oh, I think you missed talking about Tim Tebow. I think that's what it must be. I think this is a deep psychological issue.
Oh, my Lord. Yeah.
You turned this into a Tim Tebow discussion.
He was on the list. He was on the list at number 21. I think he should have been higher. There's no excuse to hate Cam.
Listen,
there's no excuse to hate Cam.
You got one excuse. Jump on the ball, Cam. Otherwise, like, loose ball, jump on the ball. Don't jump away from it. Otherwise, he's, other than LeBron, the greatest athlete on earth, maybe the best football player in the world, gives the ball to kids in the stands. I don't know why there's hate for Cam.
I agree with that. There's no argument there.
We will leave it there, gentlemen. We'll go to boxing next, shall we? Coming up, Roy Jones Jr. He is getting ready to fight at age 47. Good idea. We get into it after the break. Will make you forget Tyron's past.
I mean, I don't want to sit here and just like beat a dead horse every time the subject comes up. I don't care. care if a player smokes weed. They shouldn't be testing for it. They sell alcohol during commercial breaks. It is hypocritical to test for weed. Now, you can always make the argument if a guy does it knowing the rules, that's a problem. I agree. The irony in that stance is that the ones who are getting caught obviously maybe need some help because they're risking a lot for something that doesn't seem very important. In terms of the performance, because it's the opposite of a performance enhancer, I would say that should show up on the field. And if a guy is still productive on the field, the argument that he'd be even more productive is really nobody's business, in my opinion. There'd be lots of things that would make someone more or less productive. But let's talk about Tyrann Mathieu, the player. One of the most versatile defenders in football. Now, here's the issue I have. Adrian Peterson has everyone feeling like, oh, an ACL. You know, big deal, it's an ACL. ACL on the left side, now on the right side. Both. If he is most of the same player, when you look at the Cardinals, who are favored to win the whole thing, you know, I get it. The average in terms of total yards, defense that wins the Super Bowl is ranked 7th. The average offense is ranked 8th. Arizona last year, in terms of that metric, 5th in defense, 1st in offense. I mean, this is a serious Super Bowl contender. When you really look at them, what's the weakness? They even bring in Mathis on the offensive line, who, according to Pro Football Focus, was their highest graded offensive, well, guard anyway, since week 3 of last season. He's one of the reasons when we keep bringing up the Eagles suffering so bad and what happened to the running game and all that stuff. He wasn't on the team. They got rid of him before the year started. And then started for the Super Bowl champs, for the Broncos. When you look at Arizona, the addition of Tyrann Mathieu, if he's mostly the same player, I think correctly makes them Super Bowl favorites.
I agree with you. Tyrann Mathieu is big time. I mean, this guy, he's played some linebacker. When he's blitzing the quarterback, there's nobody better. Some have argued. I remember my man Brian Baldinger from the NFL Network. He and I know each other from our Philly days. What's up, my man?
Baldy.
I'm proud of him.
The fingers.
I love my brother. He's good people. He said a legitimate argument could be made that Tyrann Mathieu is the best all-around football player in the NFL. He's that serious. He's a playmaker. He's a ball hawk. Against speedy receivers, he's going to get his hands on the football. Against guys that, don't know what they're doing, he always seems to know what he's doing. And he overachieves consistently to the point where you don't even question it anymore. And I think you could tell a lot by Patrick Peterson and others and how happy they were for him when he got this contract, which brings me to the point that I wanted to make about you. You bring up how you don't care if they test for weed, okay? My thing is, neither do I. That's not the point. The point is they actually do. And so for me, it's not about, there's plenty of rules. There's plenty of regulations. Look, man, we got rules at ESPN. You think I wouldn't like to break a few of them? You're damn right I would. Let me be the first to tell you. But guess what? The golden rule applies. Those who have the gold makes the rules. And these are the rules. And so the question is, can you follow suit? The fact that this is a guy that was a Heisman Trophy finalist, then he gets thrown off the team for repeated violations of their drug policy, then gets arrested with 3 other dudes, okay, at LSU, okay, because of the same offense, and you had questions about his future where he was nuclear and a lot of people didn't want to touch him. To go from that to where he is right now, I can't even express to you how proud I am of the brother, because he, to me, epitomizes really the argument that I consistently have tried to make sitting up here over the last 3 years doing this show. I'm not talking, I agree with you, certain things shouldn't be tested for, whatever, but that's not the point to me. The point is what they do. This is what they're doing. Can you follow the rules or can't you? This notion that I would come on here and sing along and wax eloquently about the dangers of smoking weed and all of this. Look, man, I know too many dudes who do it.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't get their money affected by it. I'm talking strictly about dudes who get their money affected.
You're not being moral police.
So go ahead.
Here's the thing. I agree with y'all. I came on here, I took a lot of flack when leaving Pittsburgh saying they shouldn't test for it. And that I knew people who did it.
Right.
But here's the thing. Here's my issue with it. We said, does this deal and what he's done make you forget his past? I wish it wouldn't. Here's why. if he was still smoking, if he had smoked himself out of the league, if we never saw that talent come into what it has come into the $40 million guaranteed, being the highest paid safety, we would talk about it. If this was Tyrann Mathieu being kicked out of the league for a year, we would sit up here and talk about it. So let's talk about how this man was kicked off the team. Let's talk about how he failed the drug test. Now let's talk about who he is now. Let's talk about him saying, I will get it fixed. Patrick Peterson saying, I will help him get it fixed. I was on the phone with him when he was getting kicked off the team. I was texting him after he got arrested, and he was a man who wanted to be helped. He was a man who wanted to be different. That's the difference between him and the people that continue to fail, the people that continue to let it affect their money. You have to want to be better, and he did. And now what he's gotten, he got hybrid money. See, that's going to be a new type of money. It's not safety money. It's not corner money, but it's somewhere in the middle. It's hybrid money, which is why when I met Jalen Ramsey, I said, don't fall in love with being the #1 corner.
Well, let me say this. We're sitting here at Steelers camp. What's the difference between a Tyrann Mathieu and a Martavis Bryant? We got a guy that overcame his liabilities, his doldrums, whatever words you want to use that you find appropriate. He accepted the challenge. He accepted help. He's doing what he's doing. Why am I bringing up Martavis Bryant? It's not just because we're at Steelers camp. It's not just because we're going to have some Steelers up here on the set with us. It's not just because he's not here and possibly may have cost the Steelers a Super Bowl title. Not to say that that's definitely, but he's an elite #2 guy.
He is.
You know what the problem that I have with Martavis Bryant more than anything else right now? What in the hell are you doing in L.A.? I mean, you're Martavis Bryant. You're supposed to be here.
Yeah.
You get suspended for the year. You get suspended for the year. And I mean,
don't be seen at all.
L.A.?
Don't be seen at all.
Mean, you want to go and rehabilitate and get yourself ready. I love L.A. Please don't get me wrong. I love the sunshine. I love La La. Please don't get me wrong. But you want to rehabilitate yourself because you can't stay off the week and you go to La La?
A lot of players in the offseason.
He didn't want it. To both of your points. I wish I could argue, but there's no arguing with this point. First of all, whatever you want to say about what is addictive or what isn't, don't tell me that. You can be addicted to anything.
Yes.
And I'm quite sure that someone who is willing to sacrifice their entire, very lucrative professional future because they can't, as Stephen A. says, lay off the weed.
You're addicted.
You are obviously addicted, and that's why I said the irony in all this and my position that they shouldn't test is actually the guys who continually get caught happen to be the ones that the testing actually helps in terms of their personal life, in the sense that they clearly have a problem. And even beyond that, some guys want to be great. They want it. They are willing to sacrifice whatever it takes to be great.
And that's
Tyrann Mathieu.
He wants to be great.
Others happen to be good at a sport. You know what happen to be able to make a living at a sport.
Check this out. This is the way I'm going to put it. Some dudes want to be great because they want to be great. Other dudes want to be great enough to get paid.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Well, I think,
and that's what Herm talks about when you love football or you love what it brings.
Are you internally motivated or are you externally motivated? The greats are internally motivated.
He wants to be a legend. This is what I'll say. Going to LSU, he's the greatest LSU player I have ever seen with my own eyes. He's the best player to ever play in Tiger Stadium.
He's a bad boy.
Internal motivation. Those are the the Kobe Bryants of the world. They're getting up shooting in an empty gym. External motivation. I'm in a contract year.
You are with me shooting in the gym.
This miniature dude on a defense. Then we ain't talking about a running back or a quarterback. This miniature dude who plays on defense. Both safety positions, linebacker, blitzing a quarterback all day. Doesn't matter. Did you see not that you could see air, but you almost felt like you literally, like air was tangible. You could see it, you feel it obviously, but you could see the air come out of the Arizona Cardinals when he went down. If he were healthy against the Carolina Panthers, I'm not saying that the outcome would have been, different in terms of wins and losses, but I think it would not have been as lopsided as it has ended up being.
By the way, top overall scoring offense makes the Super Bowl almost 50% of the time, and Arizona is going to be right there. They're going to be right in that running.
Very happy for Tyrann Mathieu. I had the opportunity to interview him a couple times at LSU and with the Cardinals. He is the highest paid safety. We are happy for him. Speaking of that, Max, up next when we come back from Latrobe, we have SI's preseason power rankings, and I don't think you'll be that surprised where the Cardinals are. But what about the Steelers? We'll show you that list. We will react to it when we come back.